Good morning, everyone. Now, the first thing you're going to see if you're coming in and you're here waiting in a live show is these radical blue glasses. Yep, I misplaced my ones last night and I can't find them anywhere. So, for me to run this show, you'll have to put up with these glasses. Just look, leave a funny comment in there, no problem. Don't mind. But yeah, got my little list here. If you ever joined my live shows, I create a little list and we're talking about creating like these amazing organic gardens. And the title is how to create a food pumping machine. Now I know it's a big title, right? But if you get it right and you use these points that I'm going to be talking about, and we can discuss them further in the point. So we're looking at carbon, plant growth, soils, ecosystems. We'll talk a little bit about worm farming just to direct people off to the other videos, and then and look into seasons and microclimates as well. And hopefully I've got my little list down here, and I got a little bit of spare time. Weather's a bit cold outside, I don't feel like going out yet, and just wanted to have a chat with you all and help you with your gardening ventures. Now, it's not going to be this amazing visual live show. It's going to be mostly me talking and answering some of your questions and helping you with your gardens as you move forward, so you can look at ways to keep them growing organically. And if you've got the patience in the long term will definitely help you be more successful long term as well. So that's really important. If you stick with the systems, eventually it becomes less and less work and your garden becomes more and more productive. And so firstly, we're going to talk about carbon. So that was the first on the list. Now, carbon really is your friend when you're gardening, no matter what size garden you're in. So if you've just got a tumbler, you want to be getting some type of carbon, like say like a bag of the sugar cane that they sell anywhere, and throwing some vegetable scraps, a little bit of nitrogen in it, and just start to break it down a little bit. And you don't have to fully process it, and you can add it to your garden just on top of your pots and top of your little raised beds, things like that. And if you're going and you're on a bigger property, then you want to be doing something like larger scale composting using your carbons that you can get hold of. So again, sugarcane, straw, mulch, wood chips is probably my favorite, but it's the longest to break down. And just either letting it sit for quite a long time if you want to speed up the process, adding some type of nitrogen to it. And the hottest and probably the quickest one would be chicken manure, if you can get hold of that. That works really quite well, and it's got a pretty good broad NPK as well, and you can feed that to your worms once it starts breaking down and the heat's out of it, and they just chew through that, and it creates the most magical fertilizer on the planet. And so yeah, carbon is your friend. And we've got a little picture here that I will just want to add here, and we'll see if I can get this across just quickly to show you something here. Here we go. Let's see how this looks. There we go. That's not the right one. That one there, you can see this lady, she's walking through the garden. Now, this is if you're building sort of like it could be a no-dig system, or you could have started with a till one first and then adding your no-dig later on. And you can see there's lots of some type of mulch or a straw through the middle of the rows. And you can see off to the left, on my left, you can see it looks like there's some type, it might be cucumbers or zucchinis or something like this, mulch right through. And what they're doing is they're letting the mulch break down in the middle of the rows, and then later on, or hopefully they are, and then moving it onto the plants as it starts to break down. So they're literally composting on site. Great way to do it. It's very efficient. And it also, you can see she's walking on the soil. That stops compaction, slows down weed growth. And you want to have your nice big pile of carbon very close. You don't want to be carrying it too far away, scooting up and down with tractors and different things and moving it and wasting energy. Have it nice and close where you can dump it straight on site where you're doing your garden. Now, if you've got, say, large raised beds, like some of you I know that are watching are using as well, yeah, you just do something similar like that inside the raised beds, and you just let it breaking down inside the raised beds, and you're putting your compost. Once it starts decomposing, you're putting your compost and things back on top and feed that way in a layering system. So yeah, carbon really is your friend and a great material to use. Yeah, to get the soil, build soil structure, and to keep working as a part of your integrated system. So if you've got a tree lopper or someone nearby and they're just throwing it out, grab them when they're in the street and get them to dump it in your backyard or front yard, move it to wherever you can. If you've got a smaller one, use the big round 400 litre or 200 litre plastic compost bins, and you can do it that way as well to store your carbon for when you need it. Because as it ages, it gets better and it starts getting fungi from the air attached to it and things like that. So we really want to have it aging over time. If you've got any questions about carbon, yeah, you can leave them in there and hopefully I will see them in here. And we'll just say a quick hello to everyone before we move into, so we've got plant growth, soils, ecosystems and seasons coming up. And Connie can come past. It's okay. My daughter wants to come out maybe through the thing. Right, so let's say hello to a few crew. And we've got Jim. G'day, Jim. He's been waiting for a while. These are the guys that were waiting behind the scenes. Before we got started, hello to you all. And thanks so much for coming in. Yep, the blue glasses. Lost the brown ones at the moment. And having trouble finding them, but here we are. You know, I'm not any fashion shows. We got these for $1 or something from the op shop, so they just lie around in case the other ones go missing. And what we can do here is we usually ask questions more towards the end. So we'll have a Q&A more towards the end, but I'll answer this first one and then questions more towards the end, unless I say, come on, let's do some questions about this section that we're talking about now, and we will fire away. It says, hi Marty, I've filled my 400 litre compost bins with autumn leaves. Will this have the same impact, or what do you suggest I do with these? Autumn leaves break down pretty fast. Like I said before, if you've got some type of nitrogen, chicken manure is a really good one. You know, but any of the nitrogens will do. Add that to it and turn it over a bit, and it will compost down, heat up. The nitrogen will heat it up, and you'll break it down much quicker. But you know, it works quite well as long as you keep it moist as well. Once they start drying out, so to break down, just keep the oxygen in there. And it just depends on how quickly that you want it, Benny. Hopefully that answers your question there. And I like the big 400 litre ones. I call them the biggest worm farms ever. I put my worms into them once the material breaks down a bit, to just take it a little bit further. And if you want to have a look at the biggest worm farm ever. I think EVA is the video on the channel, and you can look at how you sort of can do that and add the worms in later on, and really, how do you call it? Really just boost it for so you've got a better product at the end. All right, next one, plant growth, and then we'll go into soils and ecosystems. So plant growth, you really want to be, when you're using organics, be avoiding synthetics as much as possible. We want to really be building ecosystems above and below the soil, and building that soil web. Now, a lot of synthetics will also create too much nitrogen growth too fast, and that actually, the plant, because it's growing so quickly, doesn't grow a very good strong wall, a good stem, and so insects can suck on it much easier to get that sap out of it and create more disease and different problems and things like that. So when we stick with a good organic system and we do it correctly, yeah, we're building a good strong stem, a good strong cell wall, where it's harder for the insects to pierce the outside, and it's also, they just don't like it as much. It just creates more protection and things like that. So remember, we've got our questions coming more towards the end, and I'm here to help you as best I can. I'm here for around about 45 minutes today. And right, so soils. Now, I just created a video about that people only watched it about halfway through when I stopped talking about the trench gardening, and they never got to this section. I know I probably thought you guys did, but to the part where I actually had carbon on top of the ground. So they were large bales and they were breaking down. I was talking about below the soil, the fungi, so that was below the soil, and the worms and different things. So that living soil is grabbing that material and pulling the carbon back down into the soil down below, creating a better structured soil. So we've got more aeration, better root penetration, better water storage, things like that. So when we're not exposing the soil to the elements as much, so say the sun and the wind and different things, and us walking on it, or animals walking on it for compaction, the soil will improve over time. And that's the real key to it, is just developing a really good soil over time with a combination of these other things that we're talking about, and you'll just get better and better results as it goes. And you need to think short term, you can get some food out quick, and then thinking long term that you may be where your vegetable garden is now may become an orchard later, or may become a perennial garden later if you've got that space, because you're building the soils so you can move to that thing and then cut back on your workload. When you plant that fruit tree there, after you've had a vegetable garden there for a long time and great soils, you're going to have the best orchard ever, right? Because you've done the hard work first. And all you got to do is dig a little hole and put that fruit tree in, and boom, you're going to have a beautiful, productive tree in 2 to 3 years. And hopefully going on for a very, very long time. So that's how I do a lot of my gardening is, I do have my permanent beds that will never move and will always be for my annuals. But I plant a lot of things and get the soil going. And then later on, I put in some type of fruit tree, or it could even be a native food or a native tree or something like that to build up habitat as well. All right. And okay, let's just reading the questions here. Yes, I did, and I'm starting to do it now up some side rows as well. Hopefully we can keep going on with that, but you don't have to it doesn't always have to be the bales. It can be any type of no-dig system, like what she's doing even there, but I just do it in more of the bale sort of style. But anything where you're adding carbon and compost on top, and you're just building that soil profile, you're going to get the results over time. I just like doing that system because it's perfect for me, and it's something that I've worked on for a long time. I stumbled across it because I was selling crops to the restaurants, and I could just build soils. I didn't have to dig, and I could actually harvest really easy and stuff, and then deliver straight off to the restaurants. And I just found the results just got better and better. And after I come along later on and planted something quite large on there, it just exploded. So that's sort of the system that I've been using at my place. All right, so ecosystems. Now, hopefully I've got this image that we can pull up here. I'm just going to remove this one of this lady here, and I've got to go to share the screen again and pick the right image. And we should have this one here. Let me check. That looks like it. We should be going straight there if all goes well. Now, some of you are doing these garden beds like this, and you've got the raised, and some of you are doing both. I know you've got both systems going. Then later on, you're coming in, and this is a really good way to garden, especially when you're rotating. If you're following sort of some of the old school stuff of rotation beds, this can work really well. And I sort of do more things of sort of like companion planting stuff. So I'm not doing rows and stuff as much as most people, and it sort of like naturally just changes. My garden beds just change. But yeah, if you're doing big crops in one bed each time, make sure you rotate them and improve that soil over time and keep adding to it, and make sure it doesn't get too compacted down below underneath. Now, with ecosystems, right, what we want to be doing is we want to be creating enough habitat. So it sort of mixes in with microclimates. So we'll talk about that in a second. Now, a lot of this stuff that I teach is really hard to get images and things for it. And down the track, my garden's just on 2 years of age now. Once we clean things up after all this flooding we've had, I'll probably take some photos if people are still interested. And, you know, the channels, people are coming along and getting value from it, then we'll keep moving forward with it. And we'll take photos and drop them in and then talk about sort of what's in those images and little videos and things like that. I've got a lot of cleaning up to do. But yeah, the microclimate with ecosystems. If you say, for example, here around the outside here, I can see off in the distance. Now, I've got no idea how much wind and everything comes through into their garden. I'm hoping you can see this as well. And I'll see if I can just pull this up even a bit bigger. No, it doesn't come up any bigger without my mug shot there. Okay, so I'm not sure about their winds and where the cold air drops and things like that here because it's not my place. But if it was me, I would have around the outside here, I would be planting some native trees and some fruit trees and things as a windbreak coming from the coolest spot. And I'd be trapping the sunlight coming in and the warmth coming in from the direction where the sun comes from. So wherever the cool winds are at the back, so here in Australia where I am, that's generally in the south, and it would be in the northern hemisphere, I guess that's in the north. So the cool winds are coming through, and I'm trapping the sun out of the east from the morning sun, and also going into some of the afternoon sun. And in my winter gardens, I want to trap the afternoon sun in the winter where I am in the subtropics. So my front garden is doing some of that now, and my back garden is more of the summer garden. And so yeah, that's how I do mine. And by creating these wind barriers, you need to put some native trees and mix it in with some fruit trees, so there's sort of like a permaculture backdrop. And that provides habitat for the insects, for the birds, all different types of things. You want to have a spot where the birds can fly down and grab an insect, and we even have like water, bird bath and things like that, so the animals come around. We've got owls in our back tree hunting at night, killing the rats, which is great, and they look straight out my bedroom window when I wake up, and I can see daddy owl there and a little baby one off to the right. So occasionally you can't see the mother, but it's just beautiful seeing it. And the magpies are around, and we've got some noisy Australian miners as well. And they're doing a great job keeping the insect population, as well as my daughter goes out every few days and goes through it. She does insect checks because I've been teaching it, which are the good insects and the bad insects. But once we start building habitat and we're creating these spaces, it's a really good idea to just do that slowly over time. Now, this is where our patience game needs to come in, but this is when we are able to cut back on using different sprays and things like that. I don't use any sprays here at my place, even organic ones. We just build habitat and work off that. And if things aren't growing, we get rid of them and then try and bring them back later on once the system is really set up into place. So working with, so for example, ecosystems, microclimates, and then we're talking about seasons. And I mentioned before, trapping the sun, blocking the wind, really important, and understanding where our sun is. So we need to understand where our summer, winter, and spring sun is. And so no matter where you are, if you're in a very cooler climate, you need to put up a little greenhouse, put that in the right spot. But sometimes it can take a year or two to really understand when you move to a new place where that sun is. And it's taken me that time here. also where I am on this place. We've got a couple of trees growing in the backyard next to neighbours and things, and blocks out our winter sun and stuff. And only by a few millimetres, the big tree, it just sits there and just goes below. And thank you, Jim. I really appreciate that, mate. The super chat, wonderful stuff. I appreciate your support. I really do. Yeah, thanks, mate. Thank you very much. And we've got, just caught a mouse. I've seen a big black currawong go in and grab a mouse as well, in my backyard. And it's really, really cool to see. So, so anyway, let's go to this. I just want to check out this comment here. And we'll pull it up because we're just about ready to start taking comments now and questions. A thing I found that is excellent, really helps to build up microbiota portion of my plot is nettle grass clippings. Nettle grass clippings and soil from the woodland tea. Honestly, boosts the soil and veg. I know nettle grass is very high in minerals and things like that. There are some plants that trap minerals much better, and they. So we'll just go back to. Whoops. Okay, so some like comfrey, nettles, things like that, they actually are pretty sure that, big root systems going right down deep and pulling things up. So it's designed like that in nature, and then they break down fast and rebuild the soil. So things that are getting lost down deep in the subsoil being pulled back up to the top, and that's one way we can do it. So, understanding what's around and what's available to you is good, because what's available to you may be different to what is available to someone who's 100 kilometers away, 50 kilometers away, sometimes even 20 kilometers away, can be a big difference. So we just need to, it's a good idea to ask other people what they're using locally, things like that. And if you're living in the city, I quite like the bags of the sugarcane. I think it's getting a little bit expensive, but it breaks down quick and it makes a good worm farm bedding as well. And so, good way to go. Anyway, we're ready to take any questions that you may have now. I'm going to keep talking about the organics and the regenerative systems and things like that for a while, if people are interested on the channel. The main reason is because I feel that we're moving in this direction, and I have been, like this for quite some time, is that we're moving in this direction where we want to be more sustainable and we want to save money and we want to actually create a healthier, balanced ecosystem around us and a healthier lifestyle for us and our family and friends. And by following these systems, we can actually do this over time and really create beautiful gardens. And I've got something now where we're selling a bit of compost every now and again from here, and people, when the garden's looking great, it's just this amazing wow factor. And I'm able to walk them around and give them a quick rundown on how to quickly do things and establish stuff. And I really enjoy that. And they come back and have been resupplying for their compost needs and things. And so that's been really, really great. And I'm trying to, find time to share this in here. And it's dried up a bit, the weather. And when I've got free time, I'll come in and share my my knowledge and help you guys, grow some amazing gardens. But just to break it down so you can think about this, if you've got more space, when you're building your vegetable garden, it's a good spot, and you're doing a no-dig system, consider that you can possibly move your vegetable garden later to the next spot and then plant that out as an orchard or something like that. I'm building the vegetable garden space at the moment, where I shown in the last video, and I'm pretty sure we're going to put some vertical stakes going up to around 6 to 8 foot high, some top ones going across, and we're going to run chocos, we're going to run cucumbers, and we're going to run tomatoes through there. And then once that's done, I'm going to be putting in some more fruit trees up through that corridor up through there, and turning that backyard into more of a food forest and keep the annuals sort of out the front. And that'll cut down my workload as well, and will produce more food for us over time into the long run as we improve those soils, and just hopefully we don't get too much of the rain like we've been getting. Okay, so let's keep going here. If you've got any questions on what we've been talking about, please feel free to fire away. And we've got Rick here that mentioned something. Is shredded paper is great in compost or worm farm? Just ask your doctor's surgery. That's where I get mine. Oh, that's an interesting place. Never thought of that, but yeah, it is a good form of it. Whatever you can get hold of that's available to you will really help. And just remember that when you're composting, just at home, the basic stuff, stick around about 30% nitrogen, 35% nitrogen, and the rest carbon if you can, so things don't get smelly and sticky and just yuck. And we've got the big Q in front. That's a great Q for the question. Have you experimented integration of chicken rung and worms to form mass compost machine? Yes, I have. It works pretty good. And my problems were I didn't have the fencing situation, so they kept on busting out and getting into other areas of the garden, and it just ended up being too much work. And with Shirley and I have been talking about getting some quail first, and then looking at the possibility of the chickens again. Electric fence, better place for them to sleep, and portable as well. But it's just in discussion about it at the moment. But yeah, I've done it and made big carbon piles. I found that they eat a lot of the compost worms when they get very hungry, so they probably take a few too many out of that. But as far as the composting system and turning it all over and everything, it's wonderful. And I've used them in spaces like that where I've built gardens very quickly as well. I've just thrown in carbon and just whatever into there and just let them turn it over and mulch it over, and then gone in and planted trees and things. So yeah, I found that works really well. But a good electric fence around them is what we're going to do next time, so we can move them around if we decide to take that on. We've got a few things coming up, and if we head that direction, then yeah, we will. And I'll document it here if the channel's still running and everything. Any more questions? Happy to answer them. You might have something about ecosystems or plant growth or carbon, worm farming, anything like that. And I use all these mixtures in together. I'd love to build some type of big worm farming system again if I've got the time. We'll see how things go. I can't over push it sometimes. Just depends on what's happening. Life can get very busy, as you know, but we're just trying to work on. So we're building out the back. Eventually, just becomes more of an orchard and some perennials and things. This is a good thing to do. You can wet the newspaper down, lay it the grass thinly, and run over it with a mower catcher. I get the really big cardboard from the fridges and things like that, and lay it down in places where it can't be seen so much. And then I just throw some mulch and stuff over the top, and that seems to work pretty good. I think that's along the lines of what we're talking about. You must be missing the great chicken eggs. Yeah, I do, mate. I do miss those good eggs. We eat a lot of eggs here at our place. That's one reason why we're thinking about maybe getting them again. And also, they're really good pets, as long as you can keep them in control. And so, yeah, we're talking about carbon, plant growth, soils, ecosystems, microclimates, the seasons, things like that. I think seasons is a really important one to think about, and just keep track of what's growing well each season. Like I found that last season in the summer, the okra grew fantastic. The okra at our place, and also the snake beans grew wonderfully. We got late crops of pumpkins and chocos and things like that. And so I'm looking at really growing a lot of vertical stuff where I can walk in underneath and really keep an eye on things. And then building my soil down below and having a lot of my actual growth up high this season. So that's going to be really fun doing that, just something different, so I can actually build those soils up again. I've got an avocado tree growing in one of the raised beds that Mark from Self-Sufficient Me gave me, and that's doing really well. It's got bigger leaf all down below, which is a perennial. So yeah, we're really getting there. We've cut back some of the guava, and we cut back the mango, and we've got the bananas are huge, absolutely huge now. We've got to get in and clean up and tidy up. So as I get in, clean up and tidy up, I'm going to be throwing a lot of carbon down. We're doing a lot of mulching, and then I'll be throwing the chicken manure on top of that later on once we get the carbon down to start feeding the soil yet again. And then we're running a bale garden right up one side if we can get all the bales and everything into action with the vertical gardens above. So yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. The grapes, um, the grapes it's a bit tricky here. If it gets too humid, they can get a lot of fungal viruses and things. But there are some subtropical grapes, so that's a good one to consider. Yeah, thanks, Rick, for that. All right, so we've been running for 30 minutes and 54 seconds. Let me know in the comments box if you've picked up a few good tips and tricks there and giving you some concepts about things that you'd like to implement, and let me know what you would like to implement in what you've told me here below. In the comments, and I'll read them, and then we'll head off. Then I'll head off after that, unless some more questions come through. But I'm just hoping that I'm able to give you some good information to help you move forward and to really get your gardens growing and understand that you can build over time and really build a lot of really very productive space. And don't forget, you can do the other things like your little annuals and microgreens and things in pots and stuff like that too. Like we have stuff growing in pots as well here, even though we've got the big space. And so remember, you can add that into your system. And when you finish with the pot plant, you just throw those roots and the old medium into back into the composting system, and you're creating those enclosed loops. So remember to keep the everything enclosed in the loop, because you don't want your minerals and things going out. You want it staying on site, and you want to keep recycling it over and over. And the spent microgreens, the root systems, that are unreal to throw into the worm farms when you finish. It's already got a compost in there if you're growing in compost, and they love eating all those old roots. And then you're recycling it back into the loop. And time really does fly, mate. There's for sure. There's a few small inexpensive chicken tractors work well with to keep the chickens from escaping and protect from feral animals. I might have to have a little bit of a look some more. I think if we do this, we'll maybe go into spring, but I've made promises on here before and I haven't done them, and so I'm very careful about how I word things these days because you just never know. Like we could get a whole lot of work come in, and we just don't have time to take care of something like that at that time. But I do recommend them if you do have time, and they're a great animal, great pet. And yeah, just there's something about the old chooks that you just gotta love, right? Any more questions, please feel free. I'd love to hear if you're going to actually implement any of these things. Are you considering putting a windrow in there to block or trap the light and trap the heat? Remember, when you're trapping the sunlight, you're actually creating more warmth, and you can actually go from a temperate. You can literally change your space from temperate to almost subtropical at certain times of the year, just by raising up the temperature by 2 or 3 degrees, and get really different results. And another thing just to keep in mind, growing above the ground like I do, is you're keeping your soil warmer through that cooler period. And that actually helps the plants grow on much longer. So if your soil's warm, but it's not so warm outside, you can still get very good superior growth. So something to consider. You still garden up front, right? Yeah, at the front yard. We do have, yes. I haven't created any content showing that other than the cucumber, and we accidentally cut that cucumber. We were doing some work. My daughter and I might have trimmed it, and so it was the best cucumber next to that worm farm. But yeah, so the front one's more annuals, but we've got growing up the front. We've got some dragon fruit. They're running up the trees. Passion fruit running up the tree. We've got papaya, there, and we're doing. We've got a bale garden running around the outside of the compost area. We're trialing at the moment. I know it's going to work, and it's full of the what do you call it? The potato. So yeah, the red potato. What's it called? The potato. I'm losing it now. So sweet potato, and we eat the tips, and they're really good. And so we get a lot of vegetable food from that, meaning the tips of them as the new runners come out, and they throwing all their roots and everything down into the bale system, and we'll just pull it apart and get a whole lot of of food out of there, of sweet potato, early in the spring this year, and that'll be really fun, and it seems to be working really great. So stoked for that, and Shirley showed me some recipes for eating the sweet potato tips of the leaves and stuff, and it's really actually really delicious. I was a bit like, oh, I don't think that's going to be good, but yeah, I'm into it, and so looking forward to that. And once we clean up, we'll probably give you a look around and show you what's going on there. All right, so I'm going to finish up now. No more questions coming in. Thank you so much for popping in and saying hello. And thank you, Jim Fisher, for the super chat, mate. You're awesome. You're doing some great work over there with the kids on the job site there. And yeah, God bless you all. And thank you so much for coming in and visiting. And hopefully we should have a video out once a week if I can. Who knows, maybe two, but we're going to work on once a week for the moment, and just stick with it. All right, so have a great day, everyone. Give us a big thumbs up if you haven't already, just to let me know that you liked the video and you've come all the way through and you've had a good time. And it's just really good to see you all again and to be here with the blue glasses. Those things crack me up. My daughter says they look a bit like girls' glasses. Maybe they are. They come out of a little blue pack. Anyway, I'll try and find the new ones, the old ones. And yeah, I've got to get to work. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Happy gardening. And thanks again for visiting. And we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now.